What's a very common thing that you just can't relate to? Big expensive weddings. Best thing about 2020 for me is that we didn't have a £25k wedding, but instead had a £500 wedding with just us and our parents. And I bet it was just as nice as a big one. No way I'm spending loads of money if I ever get married. On the very improbable off chance I ever get married, the bride side of the family will have to have some incredibly convincing arguments for my wedding to be any more complicated than coffee and cake with the nearest family. Restaurants that force their staff to act, sing or engage in fake banter. Just make my food please and leave the theater to the thespians. There's this restaurant where I live called Casa Bonita, where the staff will put on plays in the middle of the restaurant. It's actually really cool though. There are waterfalls, cliffs, secret passages, and a fight between a pirate and a gorilla to save a damsel in distress. Also, after your meal there are fake caves that you can explore in and treasure to try to find. As a kid it was a ton of fun to visit because of how engaging and entertaining it all was. Lost a friend there once, ripped Kenny. To be fair though, some of them are probably actual thespians that need to be servers as a second job. Keeping up with the Jones. I don't give a how nice or shiny your things are or mine or rent. I'd rather have money in the bank than a new car every year. My car is 6 years old and works fine and still looks nice. Why would I trade it in just to keep up? Same with phones, clothes, computer, even stuff for my home etc. I like mine and I get good quality stuff so it lasts. To trade it in for the sake of it would be silly and a waste of money. 6-year-old car? Who are you, Richie Rich? Lol. Edit. Wow, this kinda blew up today. For the record, I drive, by choice, an 04 Nissan Frontier with 270k miles. It's never left me besides the road, except for one blown tire that wasn't its fault. You're acting like a 6-yo car is old. I do agree with the rest of your comment though. Getting upset with people for things they are not in control of. I have to be careful of this. I grew up in a family where my parents would be extremely angry at me and not tell me until one day they would blow up at me. Or they would act very passive-aggressive and I had to figure out if they were angry or not. I learned to watch people really closely for signs they were mad at me or on their way to blowing up at me, ripping the rug out from under me when I least expect it. As an adult, it's a conscious effort to prevent myself from not taking the things other people do personally or not thinking that everything someone does is some sort of sign or personal attack. As an adult, I had a hard time coming to terms with the fact that my parents did the same. My dad had a hair-thin trigger of explosive anger, and it terrified me as a kid, so I learned to study the body facial expressions to see if what I said did made him mad. I did that so much it carried to my teenager years and then adulthood. I did it with everyone that it became exhausting to have friends because I always thought I did something to make them mad due to a slight twitch in their face or a different action than normal, so I stopped making friends or interacting with past friends. Having to reparent myself as an adult is hard, but it's needed for a lot of people, especially me. Having dreams and aspirations. I never thought I'd get to be an adult, so I never had dreams. BTW, thanks for the awards guys. I've never gotten so many, so I appreciate all of you. 22. This year made me stop, and suddenly I started to question myself why I do what I do. Is scary man. I don't know. Meal Mao edit. Thanks for the replies, made me realize that while I'm kinda lost, I'm in the right path to find myself. Wish you the best this 2021. No, keep going. That awareness is the beginning to true wisdom. Yeah, I kinda feel it like that, but it's really hard, you know? I'm feel trapped between my own feelings and necessities and what people will think about me. I know you need to think them, but just thinking what my parents will feel when I told them what I'm going through, that I decided to stop for a little and reconsider things. I feel they will think I'm just a loser and a lazy lol. The obsession with branded things. Clothes with the brand's name on them just look tacky for me. I'd much rather have a regular old graphic tee instead of a t-shirt with Gucci on the front in gigantic bold capital letters. It's pretty whatever most of the time, wear what you want and all that, but the obsession becomes incredibly annoying when people act like they're better than you because they spend several $100s on a single shirt. Those haute couture fashion houses have remarkable branding media teams behind them. They cultivate a sense of exclusivity and train the public to desire that. Often, though, the heavily branded items are actually not a fashion house's best-made product materials, and construction aren't superiorly better than any average store. They're mass-produced and made specifically for a certain audience, the ones who want to be seen wearing the logo for the feeling of luxury and exclusivity, while also promoting further free marketing for the brand. It's most often their more simple-looking garments, or basically the garments not ostentatiously covered in the brand's logo, that are incredibly well made and are the real expensive pieces. That's what I've learned from watching documentaries on the back end of the fashion industry. Absolutely, man. The historical phenomenon of creating a brand versus a product has always irked me. Not only does it become an exclusivity thing, but also a privilege thing, which is just tacky in and of itself. There is a gas station convenience store that is very popular in Texas called Busey's. They have some really cool t-shirts with funny slogans, and I would buy one just about every visit. Then I realized I'm paying to walk around as a commercial for them. Never thought about it before, but now it bugs me, so I quit wearing them. Still stop there though, because I swear their restrooms are the cleanest you'll ever find on a road trip. Thinking that being a DCK is funny. People who think being in hole is funny, I think, just crave any attention they can get. I have an uncle who's in hole on the outside, but deep down is really caring, but to me it just seems like he never learned how to express his emotions and feels he's protecting himself by being in dot. Same thing with my good friend. He's an only child and his parents make good money and stuff, but there's definitely a factor missing that they should have given him. He's great to me, but I noticed he lies and stuff for attention. He also acts like a DCK sometimes. I see through it, but I also think he's trying to look tough. I went to a Big Ten college. I swear everyone was having the time of their life but me. I couldn't wait to graduate. Me too. I couldn't afford a football ticket and didn't major in anything I couldn't have at a school closer to home. Oh well. I feel this so hard. I went to a big college because my best friend was going. Turns out I'm way more introverted than I thought I was in high school. We basically went from friends to acquaintances in like 3 months, and I was stuck at a school I hated. Ouch. Yeah, reality sucks hard sometimes. Hopefully you've made real friends since then. Small talk. Go big or go home. So, know anyone who died this year? Alphabetical or chronological? Being quiet late at night when your parents are asleep. My parents are deaf. Damn. What a life. Not being afraid of being heard. Well, not by your parents at least. Ick about siblings. So many possibilities. I'm stressing just at the prospect of being a child and knowing if something happens to me in the house, I can't just scream for help. Quick Bob, little Billy's activated the emergency disco. She signed urgently. The requirement of drama. I've met so many people who are always in the midst of some drama and then, when lacking in it, create it for themselves. They thrive off it. I mean, at a push I can understand it to an extent, it gives their lives meaning possibly. But then they try and drag people like myself into their drama. I think, the FK, not. As a former drama queen, I can say that I didn't want the drama, but unfortunately, I was perceiving everything around me as being dramatic, and most often than not, as being a sort of attack on me. And since my mechanism to regulate my emotions was flawed, I was getting very worked up and caught up in emotional storms where I was lashing out, plotting revenge, and so on. So embarrassing to look back at it all now. What was your way out of it? Sharing your whole, intimate life on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, etc. It's just gross. A coworker of mine posts no less than 3 hours worth of video onto his Snapchat daily. Every single meal he cooks and eats, every single time he feeds his turtles, every single walk he takes with his dog. It's insanity. The requirement of drama. I've met so many people who are always in the midst of some drama and then, when lacking in it, create it for themselves. They thrive off it. I mean, at a push I can understand it to an extent, it gives their lives meaning possibly. But then they try and drag people like myself into their drama. I think, the FK, not. Same. I just can't get the energy to brush my teeth until mid-afternoon, let alone get anything productive done. That's a common tactic for me, and it sometimes works, maybe even usually. But then sometimes the depression is bad enough that no amount of public shame or real-world consequences will cut through. I will go dark, ghost people, just not show up or respond or anything. I know it is a way to treat people I care about, I know it will bite me in the, but at that moment, I just don't care. Running a brush through my hair. I have very curly hair, so only finger brush it when it's wet, which isn't often. Seeing people grab a brush and run it through their hair when they've been in the wind or just to freshen up, I wish. I have to brush it in the shower because it's just too curly and thick to do anything with. My sister, whose hair like her father's and would never understand the struggle, grabbed a round hairbrush one day and thought it would be funny to put it in my hair. It got stuck and I just sat there and cried. Another time when I was really young, my aunt, who was my father's whiter half-sister, decided to put little tiny buns all over my head with newspaper elastics that ended up getting stuck and ripping out my hair. I literally bled because of it. WTF. Even with straight hair, I start from the tips. Once I can do a clean pass with no snags, I'll go from the root. With any hair type, you always go tip to root. My ex was a cosmetology student and didn't understand that, tried to go for my straight, curly when long, hair root to tip, and tore a big chunk out. Proceeded to rail at me for how badly I took care of my hair when it just comes down to dry, fine hair that likes to get tangled as soon as I towel dry. Hating your wife, at least it's common where I live. My wife is amazing and we make each other better. Edit. Mandatory thank you for the awards. To answer some common questions, my wife and I have been married for nearly 5 years, we have hit the post-honeymoon phase, and we're both American. The all ball and chain. Am I right? Wink, elbow nudge nudge, everyone has a miserable marriage like mine, right? Right. I was very blunt about having zero patience for that routine after I proposed to my wife. It was astonishing how many people were shocked or offended that I didn't find it funny. Same, but from the other side. I would never talk like that about my boyfriend, even in jest. I actually kind of like him. I'm an office worker. I like my job and coworkers. I also really like it. I can listen to podcasts or watch TV shows while working, and I love the fixed schedules. Coming out of gastronomy work, that's heaven. Please tell me your secret to getting an office job. Or at least just add CTBH. I hate working retail, and the biggest point for me is the fixed schedule. Weekends off are a huge bonus to since I need to start college, and the one thing holding me back at this point is my job. I went to a temp agency to get my first office job. It was a great foot in the door and great experience. Speakerphone in public. I barely even want to take a normal call anywhere in public with a whispered tone. God, my dad used to do it all the time and I would absolutely burn inside. A friend of mine can do even better, he puts the call on loud and holds the speaker up to his ear. Edit. Typo fix. He may have a broken ear speaker or has had time hearing the normal way.